I did a little bit of research on my radishes. And I guess apparently I have them in those coffee cans, and that's where I sprouted them, right? And so I would take the little container and I would put the little container in there, put the lid on, and that's supposed to keep it moist, almost like a greenhouse. Well, it worked, and it worked like amazingly. And this is no word of a lie, it worked overnight. These sprouted overnight, and I have three of them that sprouted overnight. Okay, so but I noticed that they're spindly, and I was curious, why are they so spindly? Like, why are they so tall? Is it something in the soil? And so I researched it, and I found out that, yeah, like if your soil has got a lot of nitrogen in it, um, they will get spindly. So I'm thanking goodness that when I put my coffee grounds um, in on the top of my seedlings or my seeds, that it was after they had sprouted. Okay, so it wasn't before, it was after, because they will become spindly if the soil has too much nitrogen, and coffee has an awful lot of nitrogen in it, so that's what'll make them spindly. And a lot of the times, if you let them go like this, and this happened to me last year, I remember this, the radishes were woody, and I was kind of thinking, like, what do I do? Do I toss them out? Well, yeah, I mean, once you've got the bulb, the radish, and if the radish is woody, yeah, it's basically of no consequence. But you can eat them. You can eat them when they're woody, and you can roast them just like you would roast like um, potatoes, right? So that type of thing. But I'm not real keen on that because I did taste them, and when they're woody, I don't like that taste. So, however, there was a lot of research that I did about these radishes, and like, oh wow, there's a lot of stuff that you don't even realize. So they will get spindly if there's too much nitrogen in the soil. They'll also get spindly if the soil is too compact, if it doesn't have a lot of aeration, where you actually have air going into the soil, so it's loosely packed. So that will stop it. Um, the big one is if it's too warm. Now, in those coffee containers, okay, with the lids on, it gets warm. It gets like a greenhouse. It actually literally gets almost like an oven, right? Like a warming oven. And so what I found out is that radishes like the colder weather. So what I had to do is I had to take them out and I had to take them out and bring the temperature down. I can't leave them in the closed-in containers because they like the coolness. They don't like it really cold, but they like the cooler type of temperature. So I had to take them out. So those are three things that I found out. So the nitrogen, the aeration of the soil, and also, what did I just say? The nitrogen, the aeration of the soil. Oh, and the coldness. They like the coolness. It must be old age that I forget what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. However, so I took them out, and when they're spindly, I was wondering, okay, should I just toss them and start over again? But no, 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 no. You can actually fix this because you got it. If you get it at this stage, you can actually reverse it. And when you plant them, if you account for the fact that the stem is so long and so spindly, if you plant them lower, then what will happen is the stem will thicken up, right? So that's a good thing. And another way to tell if your radishes have too much nitrogen or if it's too warm is if they have mostly leaves and the woody radishes, right? So if it's mostly leaves and it doesn't have the radishes, then that could also be that could be a sign of like any one of those things: too much nitrogen, not enough aeration in the soil, and the temperature being too high. So I thought that was really, really important to know because, I mean, I love my radishes just like I love my onions. So I'm going to try to fix them. Well, what I did was I took my lids off the off all the containers because I had radishes, I have red peppers, I have green peppers, and I did have some, I think it was red peppers that actually sprouted, and it would be the same thing. Now I'm not sure about the peppers, what type of temperature they're good with. Well, I'll research that later, one thing at a time. So the radishes, and radishes are important because I eat a lot of radishes, and they're expensive. They're so expensive. So I made a list because I won't forget anything, right? So um, Yeah, so I put coffee grounds on all of my sprouts, on all my seedlings. And like I said, coffee grounds are very acidic, right? But they're good to use for composting on radishes. They're good to use for composting, but not all the time, right? So you don't want to over acidic your soil. You don't want your soil to be over acidic. Now, mind you, radishes are acid-loving plants, and they grow well with the coffee grounds, with the acidic soil. Okay, so coffee will actually help to maintain the acidity of the soil around your radishes. So if you have like the coffee grounds, keep it in a container and just put it around your radishes, because the radishes will love it. It's like having that little boost in the morning. Like when I get up and I have my coffee, it's the same thing for a radish. Get up and give them a little bit of that boost of acidic coffee. I'm going to have to tick off some of these because I don't want to repeat myself. You notice my colors today? I'm wearing green pants, black shirt, and red. Not the best coordination, right? But whatever it is. Okay, so radishes are good for me. And the reason they're good for me is because I had heart problems. And also a lot of inflammation because I had cancer. I had skin cancer. So I have internal inflammation. And radishes are really good for combating inflammation. Okay, so they're anti-inflammatory and they help to reduce the inflammation in the whole body. Yeah. Radishes are low in calories, high in fiber. What else is important here? Okay, so radishes have a compound in them called Arabinogalactans. Okay, I couldn't put that all together. Arabinogalactan. Arabinogalactan. So that's a compound that's found in radishes, and it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. And I have been feeding the good bacteria in my gut with the kefir because I want to replenish my gut microbiome, right? And apparently radish will actually help feed that good bacteria in the intestinal tract, and it will nourish your microbiome. So it's like a prebiotic. So that's a good thing. So there's a couple of don'ts, and I'm going to throw them in there, okay? Do not drink milk when you eat radishes because it will create heartburn and acid reflux, okay? Because the warm nature of the radishes mixed with the lactose will actually create that. So you're kind of like putting yourself up for trouble if you do that. Also, it's bad for if you have gallstones. Now think about it, right? The radishes are hot, they're a hot vegetable. And so, yeah, they're going to affect anything like that. If you have an ulcer, if you have gallstones, it will affect that. So those are two do nots. Now, did you know that there are certain foods that you don't cook your radishes with? Yeah, and even when you're making a salad, there are certain foods, certain vegetables that you don't put your radishes with, and there's reasons. So if you cook your radishes with carrots, okay, especially white radishes, it'll get rid of all the vitamin C. Didn't know that, had no idea. Because apparently, I mean, I've never heard this before, ever. I've never heard this before. I didn't know this. They have a D enzyme called ascorbic acid. And I can remember taking some type of acid. What was I taking? Okay, so I take folic acid. Can you see that? I don't think you can see that. Yeah, so I take folic acid. But apparently, if you cook carrots with radishes, okay, they have a D enzyme called ascorbic acid, and that will destroy any of the vitamin C in the food that it's being cooked with, right? So anything that has vitamin C, you wouldn't cook your radishes with. Now, I don't know about you, but I eat my radishes raw. I can't imagine cooking them, but each to their own, right? So I just thought that was really interesting. And here's some more. What else do radishes have that is important? Radishes are full of fiber and vitamins, but they also have things called goitrogens. Goitrogens, right? Goitrogens. And what that does is it blocks the iodine from getting to your thyroid gland. Now, in my family, we have thyroid issues. Now, I don't know if I ever did because I was never tested for it, but I know that other people in my family did have issues with perhaps thyroid cancer or thyroid issues, and that has to do with the iodine. So you wouldn't eat radishes if you have thyroid issues or issues with your thyroid gland, because it literally blocks the iodine from reaching your thyroid gland. So if you have hypothyroidism, you wouldn't want to eat them. Well, you could eat them, but you'd have to cook them and only eat up to like maybe a cup. You wouldn't eat more than a cup a week. You know what I'm saying? So just that's an important thing. Gallstones, and I know people who have gallstones, and if you have gallstones, don't eat radishes. Kind of like basic common sense, right? Because if you can't eat radishes when you have gallstones, and you can't eat them when you have ulcers, and you can't eat them when you have any type of stomach issues, it's only common sense, right? Especially, and it says don't eat radishes for a week prior to having surgery, because what it does is it will interfere with the blood sugars after surgery. What? It lowers your blood sugar levels. So it makes you wonder, I mean, would it be okay for people who are like diabetic to eat radishes? Would that help with their blood issues, with their blood sugar issues, with their sugar, what's it called? Sugar resistance or insulin resistance, yeah. So radishes might be good for people who are diabetic because it will lower that blood sugar. I don't know for a fact. You have to research it yourself. I am not a doctor. This is just research that I did because of my radishes. Okay. Now, the big thing about radishes is that radishes are actually a medicine. And they've been a medicine for centuries, millenniums. People have used radishes as medicines back in the Stone Age time, okay? Now, the root of the radish is medicine for the stomach and intestinal disorders, the bile duct disorders, bile duct problems, loss of appetite, pain and swelling, inflammation, or excessive mucus of the respiratory tract. Wow, bronchitis, fever, colds, and cough. So they've been used for a millennium for all these type of issues. So the root is actually a medicine, and you will find it in holistic stores if you choose to go that route. You know, the other big thing is that I know a lot of people who are anemic, and radishes are really, really high in their level of iron, right? So people with anemia, or it also helps to lower your blood pressure. So that's a good thing to incorporate into your food, you know, when you're making your salads and things. But it's basically saying is that the hot foods with the spicy kind of taste like radishes have and onions have, with that hot taste to them, that has got a lot of sulfur in it, and so that will help to clean your liver, right? So that's a good thing to remember. And leafy vegetables are really high in chlorophyll, right? And chlorophyll will leach the toxins out of your bloodstream. So those are two things I'm going to put up here that are like important to remember. And if you're doing the holistic route, remember them. So anyway, the plants that you can plant beside radishes, okay, that actually the radishes will benefit from is corn, beans, peas, peppers, and cucumbers. So I just thought that was really interesting, and I'm going to leave it with you, let it sink in, and I'm going to do a little bit more research, and I shall see you on the next video. The good Lord be willing.